There are stars of stage, and there are stars of screen, and Sir Ian McKellen was already a theatrical knight before Hollywood beckoned. Now he is famous, of course, all over the world as Gandalf in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, which had its London premiere last week. Sir Ian joined fellow stars and royalty on the special green carpet in London's West End. He said he felt proper to celebrate the film in London, given that the author and a large part of the cast were British. It will eventually form part of a trilogy, and Sir Ian is with me now. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew.
A trilogy out of what I recall being a rather slim little book.
I know, ridiculous, isn't it? We thought we were making two films, which was a little bit questionable, but on the last day of shooting, Peter Jackson, the director, said, no, he's going to turn it into three, and I suppose Warner Brothers, who were financing the thing, said, yippee, what?
Yippee.
Three, why not 13?
Yes.
But to be fair, I mean, the fans would like 13, and Peter Jackson actually wouldn't do anything to sully his reputation as a serious director. I think there were artists.
It's not simply cashing in, but it's nonetheless an awful lot of what used to be called celluloid per page.
Well, if you think in the book, it's the beauty of literature. I mean, Tolkien can, in half a page, describe a battle.
Yes.
The cinema is a rather clumsy method of telling a story. You have to see it all, and that battle therefore takes an awful lot longer than it would take you to read about it.
Yes. Now, from your point of view, apart from the burden of having to be wise all the time, you have to sustain a pretty formidable hat. Let's just see a very brief glimpse.
Work, Scout! Which means an orc pack is not far behind.
Orc pack?
Who did you tell about your quest beyond your kin? No one. Who did you tell? No one, I swear. What in Dirty's name is going on? You are being hunted.
So, between the hat and the beard. But you had to do quite a lot of this against sort of blue screen, as it were. You weren't actually in situ because of the way it's filmed.
Much less than you'd think. If you see Gandalf on top of a mountain, he was there. I mean, lifted there by a helicopter, it's true, but maybe treading ground that no human being had ever walked on before, because it was inaccessible. And sometimes in the studio you had to have a little bit of green screen behind you, which would allow you to appear to be somewhere other than where you actually were.
And you always have to be very tall, certainly compared to Bilbo.
You've really understood it, haven't you? Yes, that is absolutely it. I have to be taller than the hobbits. They have to be smaller than me. And it involves me standing on a table often, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes as simple as that. And sometimes we are actually in separate parts of the studio.
Yeah.
I separated from the smaller folk, and by the magic of two cameras filming at the same time, pictures can be put together and
It is super sharp, and the sort of New Zealand stars as well. It's a wonderful landscape. But Alan Freeman and then some of the critics have been quite critical of the effect of 3D, which seems to be. I mean, it is an odd thing. It is so hallucinatorily sharp that sometimes you get distracted from the story. I worry.
Well, now there you are. That's not happened to me, and I've seen it twice. And I'm told that people of my age, whose eyesight is less clear than yours, Andrew, which is why you've got your job, that it doesn't worry us as much as it worries younger people. So there we are. But I think it probably is the future, whether you like it or not, and that The Hobbit will go down as the film that broke through. It's 48 frames per second. It's normally 24 frames per second. Don't worry about this jargon, but the human eye actually sees at 60 frames per second. So
it's not
there is a
quite
little bit further to go, and probably James Cameron with the next Avatar will take us there.
Yes, and it's very interesting the way that Gandalf has become a character children all around the country are now obsessed with as well. The dwarfs are kind of sort of hooligan real ale campaigners, basically, aren't they?
Charmless.
Charmless.
Well, compared with hobbits.
Well, compared with hobbits, of course, yes. But you've actually made the other two films, as it were, or have you still got a lot of filming to do?
I don't really know, frankly. I mean, I just turn up when required. I do have another 5 weeks to go, and that'll be just to tidy up the last two films, yes.
And we're going to be seeing you on an ITV sitcom with Derek Jacobi, who's somebody you have known since you were not quite this high, but for a very long time.
Well, we acted together at university, but not since. And also Francis de la Tour, who I have acted with, and Marcia Warren, who played understudied Gertrude, so played my mother when I did Hamlet. And Philip Voss, that's the cast. And
tell us a little bit about this.
Well, its working title was Vicious Old Queens, to which my reply was, well, I'm not old. But I could manage the other parts of it. But I think it's now called Vicious. It's about a gay couple who've lived together for 50 years, and one of the ways they communicate is by being perfectly horrible to each other. but of course they love each other, and it is very, very funny. Written by one of the writers and guardians of Will and Grace, very successful American TV series, who also wrote Family Guy in parts.
Right.
So I mean, it's got that sharpness to it, and we get going in January.
Yeah. And of course, we're having this conversation at a time when gay marriage has again become politically controversial. David Cameron in favour of it, but the Church of England is actually going to be illegal in the Church of England, as I understand it.
Well, that's a way of protecting the Church's right not to consecrate marriage. Marriage, of course, is not done in church, technically. Marriage only happens when you actually sign the register. It's a civil contract.
Yeah.
The blessing bit is a bit of an extra, and you can do without it. You don't have to go to church. But I think they get very confused about it, as if it's an attack on the church, and therefore the government's trying to protect them. But other religious people, like the Society of Friends, the Quakers, say, no, we want to celebrate same-gender marriages in our meetings, and you must allow us to do it. But that's all peripheral to the real argument and the inevitability of the march forward to acceptance of equality.